papers down and the conversation over. I appreciate that. Thank you.
But then,
I know there's a lot to think about. I know when I was a teacher, I got really excited when I got to see my curriculum too. So I totally understand. But I appreciate your attention. So what we're going to do right now is we decided that the best way for you guys to get familiarized with this curriculum that you're going to be doing is to just go ahead and do some of it. So first, I'm going to lead a little 20-minute section of the curriculum. And then after lunch, you guys will split into 3 groups and you'll lead a few sections of the curriculum just to get a taste for how we envision this curriculum when we were writing it, and then also to start reflecting on it and starting to think about, is this going to be easy for you to implement in your school? What are your initial worries about implementing this? And we can start to think about a plan for launching. So that said, I'm just going to get right into it. So this is, you'll see me following the lesson plan. This is from session 3, Exploring Careers. You guys don't have this. You guys are playing as students right now. So you'll just see how we do it. I'm going to skip the icebreaker and things. You know, one thing, I helped to develop a lot of this curriculum. One thing I'll say about myself as a curriculum developer, which is true from when I was in the classroom, is I try to my one thing is I probably maybe try to put too much in there. So if you realize that as you're teaching this curriculum or reading this curriculum, this is all in Word document, so you can take out what you need to. And I would recommend taking out the icebreakers first if you have to. Those, I think they're really fun. They're great team building activities, and if you can get to them, I think it's good stuff. But if you can't, that's what I would skip over. I think of it like the opposite of a newspaper article, right? When you write a newspaper article, you always cut from the bottom. The lesson plan, I would cut from the top, like that first activity if you need to. So the first activity that we're not going to go through here was just partner interviews, which they would just team up in the classroom. And we have, they would just be working on one-on-one interviews. Who do you know that has an interesting job? Tell me about that person in the job. What are some of your passions? Is there a job that incorporates these activities? What job would you never want to do? So the students will be interviewing each other about jobs for this first activity, which we don't have time to go through today. And then they'll be doing a little bit of sharing out about what they learned from their partner. And this is also something that you'll see a lot, is that we want to share out a lot. I mean, how I like to run share outs is, you identify 2 or 3 students who've done a really great job, prep them a little bit, and have them share out in front of the classroom. And over time, if every class 2 or 3 people are sharing out, they'll all get to practice a little public speaking. All right, so that was the first activity, which you guys didn't do. And then I'm just going to launch right into the second one. So who here has heard of the term career pathway? Does anyone know career pathway? A hand raised who can tell me what it means to them, a career pathway?
And then when they have like the CTE programs at some of the community schools, not the community schools, but at the...
Yeah, okay, that's interesting. That's like a framework for a career pathway. Now, how about for an individual? Does anyone know what it means for an individual to have a career pathway?
Just like a step-by-step guide of where you start to get to that career objective.
Okay, it's a step-by-step little guide. Yeah, okay. Anyone else? A roadmap? Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, it's usually very directional. It has step-by-step, and not just a roadmap with kind of any possibility, but maybe more like a Google directions, where you go from one turn to the next turn to finally get to your final destination. And if you think about, right, a Google map, you kind of start with where you want to end up, and then you work, the directions work their way back from there. And this idea of step-by-step, I think, is really important, right? And so, it can be really overwhelming if you're like, maybe my goal is to be a doctor, or maybe my goal is to be a principal. Think about something so far away for you right now. But if you think that everything is like a little bit of a step-by-step approach, we can break it down to something a little bit easier. I know you have a 14-month-old. I have a 7-month-old. And It's so interesting right now to see like,
Their pathway.
yeah, exactly, to see the step-by-step about their developmental process, right? Like, you know, everyone had this one neighbor who every time I see him say, baby walking? Baby walking? I don't know if you get that every day, but they're like, 7 months, they're like not there yet, right? Yeah. So if you think of this goal, right, of baby walking, you think about there's like a really progressional step that they're going to get there from one to the next, you know? Like, you know, first, their heads are all this, and like first they can kind of like hold themselves up a little bit, right? Like, okay, starting to have like a little bit more control over their body. You know, next, maybe they can sit up, and like when they can sit up on their own, you can see them strengthening a little bit. That's kind of the next step, you know? Then they have the ability to crawl a little bit, and then I'm learning all these terms now too, because I have a baby called cruising. I don't know if you've heard of cruising. I've never heard of this, but, or other weird connotations, but this cruising is like when they're like holding on with one little hand and just like they have something together to try to do it, right? And that's the next step in their development, to go a little bit, and then maybe eventually they'll start to take one step on their own. And then 2 steps, right? And then they're off, right? And pretty soon they'll be dancing.
And life is over.
Yeah, right? And then we have to baby-proof the whole apartment. But I think if you think about a career path, right? It's that, you know, developmental step-by-step process too. We want students, you know, I'll break it a little bit, right? We want students to think a little bit about this as a step-by-step. So it's not so overwhelming, something that's unattainable. It's small little processes that can build on each other. So that's what we think about with a career path. And we're going to spend 2 lessons with the students really thinking about careers even before they think about college, because you hope that they'll make some college decisions based on what eventually they have their ideas for careers. So in the curriculum, I talk about using Barack Obama's career path, which I find really interesting as the example. Because you don't know me, and I didn't really feel like taking the time to introduce myself, I'm going to introduce myself a little bit through my own career path. But whatever you want to do in your classroom, obviously, these are all Word documents. You can change it how you want. So today I'm going to tell you a little bit about my career path. So my name is Curtis M.S. here, and I am right now the Assistant Director for Continuing Education at CUNY. I'm at the CUNY Central Office, and so I'm starting with the end of my career path right now. So before that, to get to here, I was a teacher, a head teacher. I taught 2nd grade at the charter school. I didn't last very long. It was a really, really difficult experience. I wasn't really great at it, and you know, there's a lot of reasons why that came about, and you know, I really like writing curriculum, and I hope that the curriculum that we've come up with will alleviate some of the issues I had when I walked in the first day of my classroom and opened up like the drawer for where our curriculum was. And the first time I opened the opened the binder to look at my curriculum, a roach flew out of our curriculum binder, no joke, and I'm just like, took the curriculum, I was like, I can't use this, I'm just like, dropped it in the trash. So I started the whole year with like no curriculum, because it all was in this infested roach area, and who knows if it was any good anyways, but it was crazy. So I didn't have any curriculum. I hope that this curriculum will be useful to you, because then I ended up having to wake up at 4 a.m. every day to write my curriculum that I was going to use that day at 7 o'clock when I had to be at school. And also, you know, some of the reasons I didn't last were I didn't have great control of the classroom. I didn't have the classroom management. I didn't have the respect of the students from the first day. I mean, I had a really tough class, but regardless, it didn't work out for me from the very beginning. So I've tried to write just little teaching tips in the side of the lesson plans, or just some ideas about things that I did wrong that I would have loved to have someone help me through that. So, you know, that's what's in there. So my career path was, I went from a second grade teacher to this, assistant director. Before I was a head teacher, if you look at my career path, I was an assistant teacher. At a private school, which looking back was just like a really nice time in my life because that was really easy. I was going to school at night, and I went to all-girls school, Chapin School, teaching science in second grade in the morning. Kids really had no issues. They were excited to be there every day. They were really well behaved. The class size was like 18. But I know, right? But at the end of the day, you know, this wasn't where I wanted to be for my life. Like, you guys are all DOE teachers. You probably have some, you know, social justice pushing you, which is what I had too, which led me to here and eventually to CUNY. But, you know, this was a great place to learn. Before I was a teacher, I was in the nonprofits, and I was a youth program coordinator or education program coordinator, either one. But they were really great jobs in the nonprofit sector doing education, which I love. Doing a lot of curriculum running, the students wanted to be there, it was great. One of my jobs was in Central Park Conservancy, running classes at the park, which was really nice. Another one was in Providence, where I ran an after-school center for middle school and high school kids. I mean, the problem with nonprofits is that, you know, one morning I woke up, I went into work at Central Park, and they're like, there's no more education department. Like, see you later. And so the next day was actually when I was like, all right, I need a little bit more stability. So that's when I decided I wanted to go into teaching. I still want to do education, but nonprofits can be hard. Always fundraising, changing a lot, big core changes. And I've had, you know, a few other little odd jobs. If I think about my career path, really what started me on there was I started out when I was back in high school, and all through college too, I was a counselor. I was a counselor for camps. I was a counselor for after-school programs. So if you look at this career path, right, like assistant director for continuing education, if that's all you knew, you wouldn't really know how you get there. But if you look at a career path, it's something that kind of builds off each other step by step. And there's little jumps that happen in between, right? When I went from just being a counselor to being a youth program coordinator, I had to get my bachelor's degree. I need to get some education. There's no way I could go from here to there. When I wanted to go to become a head teacher, you know, from a nonprofit, that's when I got my master's, because my initial degree was in science, so I had to go back for a second degree. Now, you know, eventually I hope that my career path will keep progressing. You know, and maybe if I end up wanting to go to the highest, I'll have to do more. And but for right now, this is where I'm at, and this is the career path. And, you know, what we want you to do now is to start thinking about your own career path. Start to think about, where is it that you want to end up? You know, where's your really lofty goal? And that you're not going to get there straight out of high school. You're not going to get there straight out of college. It's going to take a step by step. Hopefully in the same field. Mine's all in the field of education. But I've just slowly moved from a counselor getting paid. I think my first job was like $5.55 an hour, just during the summer camps. So, you know, nonprofits not making a lot, but at least I had some benefits, and it was full-time. I got some really great experience, to working full-time as an assistant teacher, and then as a head teacher, able to, you know, have a, you know, really respectable job, make a decent salary, and then because I had all these experiences together, I was able to go into this really interesting position I have right now, which I really like. So when you think about your career path, you just want to think about all the little steps, just like baby has to do with all their little one after another to get to where they want to be. So since you're 18, 17, you know, you don't really need to commit to anything right now. The really important thing is that you start to understand what is a career path and what it's going to take to move along it. And that is going to take a lot of time and a lot of different little steps along it. So what we're going to do right now is you're going to just think about some career paths that exist. Now I'm just going to pause for a second with an aside. You know, here we would just have the students do some journaling about what do they know right now about home health aide, what do they know about a medical assistant, what do they know about being a cook or a chef. Just to do some, like, you know, knowledge activation, just to get them thinking a little bit about it. We just have them write for a few minutes about everything that they know, do a little bit of individual work in their journals that they'll be using throughout this, and start to get them thinking. I'm going to skip that right now, and we're going to move into the small group section. So all these lessons, we really try to make sure you get some interactive small group work. I think that's really important for success in college and success in career, is to be able to do that. So I'm just going to skip ahead to that right now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask this table, and this table to all come over here. You three to join this table. And then you three to join that table.
So you put all the cool people at the same table.
Okay, you guys are going to get the medical assistant map.
You need an associate's in applied science and
You guys are going to get the whole thing.
makes
like a Jeopardy.
$13 an hour. Then when you go back.
Now, I know this is really exciting, but before we get into the small groups and it gets a little bit crazy, I just want to give really clear directions. We have 9 minutes right now, and what you're going to do is you're going to just discuss and look at this map. What kind of information is on these career maps? What are things that surprised you? What do you want to know more about? Let me write those down. 1, kind of information. 2, what surprised you? 3, what do you want to know more about? Now you're going to continue to work with these maps during the next class, so this is just an initial time for you to look over them. So you're going to take about 5 minutes right now to just try to answer some of these in a small group, all right? So you can go ahead and get started with that.